This is the Swarm and Shoot Football Show, episode number 16, with me, Manny Matsakis, the head football coach at Defiance College, and Lynn Groll, the publisher of the Black Swamp Football Preview magazine. We feature Defiance College football and everything that influences our program. This show is brought to you by our friends across the street at Biggby Coffee, where you can get the finest beverages in Defiance, coffee beverages, and even some other things, Lynn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you can get great pastries, good little blueberry muffin this morning, pretty solid, and a breakfast sandwiches as well to start your day. And today we're got a little pick-me-up. What I have, a vanilla latte here.
Yes, sir.
What do you have?
Same thing.
Double trouble. Here we go. All right, today Lynn and I are going to recap last week's game against Hanover, which was homecoming, and we'll give you a preview of this week's plan of action during the bye week and some things we're going to get going on. So good afternoon, Lynn.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Let's roll.
Yeah, you're looking good. I like the flannel.
Yeah, well, that's all the reason for our viewers on YouTube to check this out.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it's starting nice and cool up here in Northwest Ohio, beautiful Northwest Ohio. And, with an off week, no practice on a Monday or Thursday or Friday, which is, customary during an off week like this. And we could do a lot of different things before we head into the final month of the season.
Going back to Saturday, Hanover, obviously a lot of people came back. I know I met some people that were from your area that came up, and a lot of alumni were here. It was great. What did you take away from Saturday against a very good Hanover team, Coach?
Well, my takeaway is that at times we did some really good things. I mean, you would think 42-0, there's nothing good that happened, but that's not the case. I thought our defense, especially in the first half, did a good job, even throughout the game. Hanover went for it on fourth down a few times, and we stopped them. It was an opportunity for our guys, really for the first time this year, I think, defensively, to end drives in a turnover based on end of downs. And I thought that was a real positive for us, and you could see some guys, particularly on our defensive line, playing a lot better. I mean, the group had been what we thought was basically decimated as far as the number of players we had in that position, but that group stepped up. I thought they did a really good job there. Some young guys did a good job. I mean, Stephon Haynes did a great job. We've got some guys near the top as sack leaders in the conference. So, I mean, there's some things going pretty well, and I can see it starting to gel, and they're getting a little bit more confidence in themselves on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and you made Hanover work for those points. It wasn't just a couple plays.
Yeah.
I know, especially the first half.
Probably the least number of explosive plays we've given up all season, which, I mean, that's significant, because that just tells you our guys are playing some assignment correct football at the right times. It was I thought from a defensive perspective, our players started to rally at times, weren't concerned about the score, and understood about playing four quarters. And I thought they did a really good job with that.
Offensively, didn't get any points, but there was bright spots at times. I think Santoro had a catch there in the second quarter or first quarter, I think even, that probably was inbounds, and I don't know, it was close.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I know,
we had
a
couple of those.
That was close, yeah.
Too bad we don't have instant replay. I think I saw the video. You could see his foot in, and
right.
And it's just difficult. What I noticed is right now when we had, and I'm not complaining about the officials, but I'm complaining about the officials. Let's put it that way. It was like that first half, it just seems like everything that could go wrong from an officiating standpoint went against us, and I'm not sure Hanover got a call on them till like the fourth quarter. It was late, and I'm seeing all these different things out there, and we're getting absolutely no attention paid to our requests for officials to see certain things that we were noticing. And but I give it, great job, Hanover. I understand. But I think more than anything else, we have to understand as you are in the process of turning things around, you're going to get more calls against you than for you. That's just how it is. and we have to understand we have to be significantly better so those calls do not affect you. And I feel if our players, I think we learn that, and we'll go into our practices during the bye week and, polish some things up so those things don't happen. I mean, some of the, and then on the other side of the ball, you look at the offensive side, it's like we'd have an explosive play, great play, and then there's a 15-yard penalty for no reason, away from the play, things like that. Because what I'm noticing is opponents look at our young, these freshmen, all these freshmen playing, and what they do is they always catch the guy that responds back. So some of these veterans on other teams will say certain words and say certain things to our players to get them riled up. And because they're freshmen, they don't have the control they need to have just yet. And then, boom, there goes the flag on us. But, they didn't hear what made it happen in the first place. But that's on us. I mean, we've got to be able to respond at a much more mature level than we currently are.
That control just come from experience. Do you coach that, talk about it? What goes into keeping kind of your cool on the field?
All of the above. I mean, you talk about it, but it's like anything. There's so many things that happen in that game that you coach and talk about, but it takes a lot of repetitions to get it. I mean, I feel bad because, Tristan Yeoman's our special teams coordinator. Every day on kickoff return, if he says the first thing is see the ball off the tee, And then they hit a surprise onside kick. And it's like, there it is, rolling right to one of our players, and he's not looking at the ball. He's turning around running. And it's like, we drill that every single time we work on kickoff return. But until you rep it enough and do those surprise onside kicks within a practice, I don't think we're going to get the response. I mean, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it repeatedly, especially with young players, repeatedly so many times that it just becomes a habit that they're used to it. We just don't have enough habits, good habits set up to play the game error-free or low error at this point.
Where will that consistency come from? Just more reps, more playing time?
All that plus an off-season program that requires a discipline and a work ethic that a lot of these young players have not had to this point, that you can't really do until you get into an off-season program. But, I mean, we work on it throughout practice. We do a little extra conditioning. We try to detail things out and explain to our guys the importance of doing things the right way. You look at I always like that deal. It's either on Facebook or Twitter, the team that's running lines back and forth, and then one guy's 6 inches from the
winning
line.
And losing.
Yeah, that's us right now. I mean, it's the guys that don't do things to the highest level of their competence. And it doesn't take any more to touch that line. It's a mental thing that has to come across. And once that does, I think that's the so-called switch that flips and things start to happen in the right direction.
Consistency offensively. I know there's big plays at times. Where do you get more of those or more kind of chunk plays at times, Coach?
Lynn, the thing I notice is after you view the tape and you see everything that transpires in that game, and what we do, it's really a simple process of things that have to happen on every single play. For instance, you have to be able to snap the ball accurately to the quarterback. When you're in the shotgun, a ball that's pushed to the right, pushed to the left, over his head, any of those kind of things make a significant difference in the timing of the offense, be it a throw or our predominant run, which is the triple option, running the veer play. And because we get out of sync, now then it's a domino effect. The quarterback is out of sync, his footwork is off, and then all of a sudden he can't read and ride and decide on the particular defender if he is going to give the ball to the back or pull it and move forward with the options that are available to him. But it all starts there. everything being in sync, the back being able to take the proper footwork, and then he takes the wrong footwork, and then he comes up and it gets blown up, where if he took the right footwork, he would have run right by a defensive lineman coming out of his stance, as opposed to not going quite so fast, which is what happened on it was a 4th and 2 on the very first drive. It's like, it's there, but we're slow. We decide to slow down. And Reggie comes to me and says, look, I got the ball, I'm turning, and I'm waiting for the back. Those are some things that are on us as coaches, because we may drill them, but it's not in the fabric of our players to do things correctly all the time. And sometimes our backs do fantastic jobs. So it's not so much that they're unable. It's more that we have to hold their feet to the fire, and you can't baby guys. And I'm not saying that we baby them across the board, but they're used to being coddled in this day and age. And there's a certain toughness that comes with playing football. I was like the whole deal about, other sports say, this is a collision sport. And yeah, I get basketball is a collision sport. They box out and do things. And that's a great sport. They're all, it's basically a contact sport is what they're saying, where we're not a contact sport. All right, there's a little bit of contact. It is a collision sport, and there's a big difference in collisions and contact. Contact mean you're touching a guy, right? Or you're using hand-to-hand combat in a way. But collision is like, get after it, blow a guy up, make a play, and go blow the next guy up. I mean, those collisions are what make football the game it is today. And if you're not a high collision team that can impose your will on somebody, then what happens is their will gets imposed on you. And that's the nature of the game. So it's like, that's why you have to get so strong to play this game, and you have to be so fast. But speed alone doesn't do it unless you are really taking it to the ultimate, which is a great collision, to win at the line of scrimmage, to win at the point of attack, offense, defense, kicking game.
I know all offenses are timing based. Is yours even more so than some of the things that you do, Coach, compared to others?
Yeah, well, it is in a way, because like we are geared on, hey, there's certain things we have to do for things to get rolling, and defenses know this. Where Mount St. Joe a couple weeks ago struggled against what we were doing in the run game, they knew they had to stop a particular play, and they had to make all kinds of adjustments to do it. But if we're doing it well, it can really set the tone for the game, because it is a very physical game. And so I think, we're very, very timing based, and that's why things like the snap and things like our footwork, all these things are important, where you could go the other direction and just be throwing the ball all the time. And I've done that. And then there's a little bit of leadway there in the precision of it, but not as much as people think. I mean, that's based on your quarterback's footwork, on the receiver's footwork, everything timing up appropriately. There are very few really good offenses that are not timing based in some particular way. So it still comes down to fundamentals.
Your kids, high school wise, can get away with maybe not having the greatest footwork or that kind of thing, just with their athleticism. Is that something that is hard for a college kid to adjust to from high school?
Yeah, probably, because they don't have as much time with them as we do. And so what ends up happening is, and I've coached high school football, and there's a different type of demand, and they're dealing with hormones a lot more than we deal with them, and there's all kinds of other issues that, high school coaches, they deal with a lot of different things, that I'm fortunate to be coaching college football, so that we can focus a little bit more on the actual game itself at times. But when you're in a transition like this and you're dealing with players like that, I think a lot of the high school players that come in early in their career, they are surprised at the speed of the game, first of all, the sheer strength of opponents, and their teammates that may be 2 years older that are grown men. They're just shocked, and they may not say it because in this day of social media, they're all worried about how they look online, but they all want to say they're this and that. But when you see them out there in the field, and they get lit up by a grown man on our team or by an opponent. It's in their body, it's in their makeup. It's not like they give up, but it's like, oh boy, this is big boy football. But the same thing happens when you go from college to the pros. It's just moving up levels. It's just this seems to be maybe the most significant move up. It's because what's happening is a lot of these guys are coming from a variety of different types of programs. You got some guys that may come from an 8-man program, might come from really small high school, and now they're playing college football, thinking, "Oh, it's a small college. Maybe I could fit it." No, it's any. I mean, there are guys that hit here as hard as they do in the Big Ten. I mean, it just happens, and they don't realize it. And then when it happens, they one of two things happen: they either move along and give it up. But many of the guys that have a certain mental toughness to themselves and want to get it done stick around and create something special for themselves in the future.
Take me through your bye week this week. What do you have kind of planned? What are you trying to achieve, Coach?
Well, I mean, the plan during this week is primarily go back to fundamentals in the couple practices we have this week. Let's get some things shored up. It's not like I'm not a big hey, let's figure out a whole bunch of trick plays, because it's more like, hey, let's get better at what we do, as long as we know what we're doing will work once we get better. And so we're going to work on those things: blocking, tackling, fundamentals, the drills and skills that are involved in all that. And then every other day, and especially every morning of the week, we're out locally, and the other days we're off campus, and our coaches get out and recruit. And I'm around, some days I'm on the road talking to people. I know over the weekend I'll be on the East Coast, and have a bit of about a 9-10 hour trip. Going to make over a couple days, and there's a few games I need to see, some really good players, and or we can bring some guys in from Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, that region. There's some teams playing out there that I want to see Friday, Saturday, and I think guys that would fit into our program. Because we have to cast a very big net in order to get the type of players we need here.
Do you have kind of a number that you feel you want to bring in for next year?
Well, I would think a significant number is usually it's based on retention. And, I could say, let's bring, like Mount Union will bring in 120 to 140 freshmen, which we're not really staffed to do something like that, meaning that when they got here, we don't have the 8 full-time assistant coaches, the 8 interns, however they're all set up a little bit. It might be 7 full-time, 8 with the head coach or something like that. But they've got, it's been something that's been built over time to do something like that. But it's more that we want the highest quality we can, and then you're looking at only replacing 8, 9 seniors. So if we look at the roster, it's about 20 players more than it was a year ago, and you're only going to lose 8. And then you want to retain as many of the freshmen that are college football capable, that being the big part, and also that are good students that see the value of a Defiance College education. And there's a lot of those guys. I mean, we're 57, 58, some freshmen here on the squad, and retain those guys, and then say, okay, what's the balance out, based on our facilities and what it is we can bring in. We could bring anywhere from another 60 to 75, 80 players, could be the number, but it's more of a range that we're looking at, and it also depends on what our depth is at various positions. Like, you may need more linemen. Everybody needs more linemen on both sides of the ball. So you can get more linemen in, more guys that can play special teams, which would be linebackers, defensive backs, and the sort.
Do you have a certain number depth-wise that you like to go on the defensive line, offensive line? How deep do you like to go kind of in those areas?
Yeah. D-line is always deeper everywhere because you can see even in our games, I mean, people are subbing all the time. I mean, if you've got 10 to 12 quality D linemen, that's what you'd like to have because you could rotate them, and some are pass rush specialists, some are goal line or run stoppers, so you could get into situations as an offense is rotating their personnel in. So I think that's the position you would like to have. I'd say a dozen would be nice in there that can play for you. So, but what happens is you say that, but you probably need about 22 to 24 to have that dozen because there's another group that has to develop to become that. And it's like when we talked before in other podcasts that it's like when we play these teams, their freshmen never really see the field. I mean, they're keeping starters into the fourth quarter against us right now. So it's like you're not seeing any of their freshmen. Our freshmen are playing from the beginning all the way through to the end of the game. So I think that there's a lot of value to that. And as long as our guys are, constantly working on their craft, I think it's great. So I think those are the kind of numbers you're talking about there because you would like to be able to play ideally maybe a 6-game JV schedule to develop those other players. And that goes across the board in virtually every position. You want to have guys that are a little more mature, which would be your juniors and seniors, occasionally a sophomore, and then the freshmen that can sort of build in. And then once in a while, you get these freshmen that can start. Now, we got a slew of them right now. But ultimately, as they mature, there will be less and less of those freshmen. I would say, probably in 2021, we would have less freshmen playing at this point. Yeah.
Glaring issues that you would like to get rectified here this week, going into next week against Franklin, Coach?
Oh, I think issues one is anytime you've played 6 games plus 2 scrimmages, you want to get guys healthy. So that's part of the sort of off days, but they're getting treatments, taking care of themselves and so forth. So it's just letting their body recover a little bit. And then when we do practice on the couple of days we have practice in a week is to get the precision timing down that could make the difference or would make the difference in a drive or an outcome throughout the game. So I think those are some things that we want to do. And then we're going to take a look at some more young guys. I mean, there's a few other guys that have been practicing well. We want to see about getting on the field by the time we hit Franklin.
Sounds good. Appreciate your time this week, Coach.
Yeah, hey, this has been good, and I'm encouraged by the support we're getting, by our alumni, and that was a fun homecoming for us. And, seeing that 1969 undefeated team is pretty neat. They loved your article in the Black Swamp Football Preview magazine. I think 3-page article on that. I think our guys really got a kick out of that, and it was nice to see so many guys back that have kept a bond since 1969. 50 years later, they're still very close to each other. And we use that in recruiting. Say, that's what it's about, Defiance College. Family atmosphere, come here, stay close to your, the guys that you come in with, and you'll leave with a championship. And that has always been the plan, and it's just, and that's the process we're going through right now. I'd like to thank everybody out there for joining us on this Swarm and Shoot football show. If you're listening to this podcast, make sure to subscribe in iTunes. Give us a rating, comment on the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, other than going across the street, if you're in town to get your Biggby Coffee, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell up in the corner. You'll get notifications when you're going to release the next show, and then feel free to comment below on a specific show. But once again, thanks so much, and we will see you next week as we preview our next game on the road at Franklin in Indiana.